Hey, it's Chris here again, back with my OpenGL tutorials for Java. I had a couple of, problems. I switched from Windows to Linux, so yeah, that took some time, and I just haven't felt like doing stuff. I've been working on other stuff. So, I think the code should be somewhat similar. I lost all the code when I switched, so it's not that difficult, but all I have right now is this basic window. Alright, and yeah, so any render code that I had rendering the player, just remove that if you want to, and we are gonna dive right into it and create a new class called player. Alright, so we're gonna create the player class. So I'm gonna have an X and Y. We are not gonna deal with depth right now, so X, Y, two variables, and then we could just add a constructor for player. So X and Y, and you could have a, if you want, width and height as well, so you can specify the height and width for the player. Okay, and now I'm gonna add a input which will, contain all our inputs. So if keyboard dot is key down, and then keyboard dot key, we could do a four directional movement. So W key, we want to take the Y and negative it by 1, and then for the down key or the S key we wanna add it. Yeah, because the way we have set up the view in the GL ortho is by a 0 0 up here and 640 down here, and that way when we want to move up we have to take the Y value and remove from it. It's different when you work with 3D, so yeah. And then keyboard dot key A, which will be for the for the X value, and then is key down or dot key D. Alright, so that's the basic movement, no collision or anything right now. I wonder, did I make this a... Actually, I think I should do that because it's so simple. I'm gonna do the text to bank into a singleton, so we don't have to pass it around or whole freaking code. So inside the texturebank.java, do a private texturebank constructor, and then make a private texturebank equal to new texture bank. So a new private texture bank object, and then I'm just going to create a public texture bank get or just instance, and then return the texture bank instance. Alright, oh oops, alright, and that should do it. What's up? Yeah, I have no. Okay, which is some old stuff. All right, so back in the player.java, gonna first I should bind. So you'll bind texture, then texture 2D, no, and then take the texture bank dot damn it, I just come from C++ here, so I'm not quite. I'm just gonna. That's not it. Or is it? Yeah, it seems like it. Then I'm gonna reference the player texture I'm gonna load soon, and then get texture ID. Alright, it's gonna have to be static. So back in the texture bank class, make the instance static, and also make the return function static. Or else it won't work. And gonna have to import every single stuff there, every single library. Yeah, so that's binded and nicely. So I'm gonna GL begin and just render as before quadral, you know, the square shapes, and you'll vert text chord to F. I'm just gonna write the code and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I create a square that I map the texture to, and I use the whole texture, so I just specify from 0 to 1. That's the width in OpenGL, how the texture's dimensions ranges. So that's that, and that's that. So okay, back to the, I'm gonna go to my home folder and workspace, LWJGL, and in the main folder of in your project, this is the same for Windows as well. You wanna have a player.png or any other extension, and just a player texture. Then in the main.java, in the init, after I have initialized OpenGL, I'm gonna call texture bank dot instance dot load texture, specify player.png. Then I'm gonna player. I'm just gonna run this to make sure that no errors or anything, so that works. Then I'm gonna create a new player object. You can make the player. You can make the player and singleton as well if you want to, because you only need one player. But yeah. And then I'm gonna call the players different functions. Then I'm gonna run it, see what happens, and I have the player, and I know exactly what I forgot. So back in the player class, in the render, you wanna have GL11.GL translate F to the X and Y and no on the Z. I'm gonna explain what that is in a tiny bit. Alright, so what GL translate F does is, I'm gonna have to use GIMP for this. I need to draw when I explain. So, okay, here is your screen. God damn it. God damn it. Okay, this is your screen. Alright, 0, 0 up here, and width and height down here. Alright, and when you work with 2D, this is, in the case of 2D, where OpenGL starts the rendering at 0, 0 if you haven't changed it. So OpenGL will always start rendering at the coordinates of 0, 0, right? So when you specify GL vertex to F0, 0, you specify to start the rendering or render this vertex at the first, at the starting position. Now you could change that position by calling GL translate F. So that pretty much makes all this code relative to where you have moved it. Moved the starting position of the rendering. And I moved it to X and Y of the player, so it will begin rendering where the player is. Alright, so if the player is at 100, 100, 100, the starting position might be here, and then it will move 32 there, 32 down, and then create a square. Yeah, so that's what that does. I hope you understand. Or that, yeah. So I'm gonna play it, and you see my player moves around, and we're on our way creating a awesome game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna see how the audio turns out. I hope it turns out well. If not, yeah, you'll have to excuse me. So yeah, later.